Hi, welcome to Agsolutely Fabulous. My name is Gillian Fennell, also known as Station Mum 101. I love everything about agriculture, especially the people and especially communicating about what makes Australian ag so special.
And I'm Katja Williams, a beef, cattle and cropping farmer, and I love all things ag, and I'm also known as the ultimate farm wife. Together, we are Agsolutely Fabulous, and we are talking all things agriculture beyond the headlines.
And we can't wait to give our opinion to you, and we hope you enjoy it.
So let's get into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Agsolutely Fabulous. It's episode 83, and today we're talking about a couple of really exciting topics, and we've got some normal chit-chat and articles which you guys sent through and you wanted us to talk about, so stay tuned for that. Before we jump into those topics, Gillian, what's been happening on station?
Well, we've been off station. Mark's nan passed away, which is a sad thing, although not unexpected because she was quite elderly and quite unwell. And as everybody knows, that some funerals can be incredibly sad. Not Mark's nan's, though. Obviously we were all sad and there was tears, but it was also I found it quite amusing because there were some kids there who'd never been to church before, and they had a very interesting view of what was happening and liked to ask questions very loudly when we should have all been being very quiet. For those of you who may not know, so we're Catholic by raising, not particularly strongly wedded to religion, but some people are, and that's fine. Mark's nan had a very deep faith, so we had a full Catholic funeral with all the bells and whistles, so to speak. And part of that involves the priest blessing the casket with the holy water. One young lad wanted to know very loudly, why is that man flinging water around? Why is he allowed to do that? And he was told, shh, it's holy water. What makes it holy? It's been specially blessed. What does that mean? And so then he was told, be quiet. And then the incense brazier came out and was being smoked. He's like, that thing is on fire and it stinks. So we were all trying to keep a straight face while that was happening. But then we went out to the cemetery because, proper big procession behind the hearse. Or we go out to the graveside to have, as I told the kids, we're going to have some more church out on the graveside, and then we'll be able to go and have a little party at the pub, the wake, obviously, and have like some chicken nuggets and that sort of stuff. So we're there, and the first thing they did, because there's a lot of little kids in the family. So they're the little girls, a lot of little girls, and they're like, what? Some flowers. Except at this particular cemetery, there were no gardens. So the only flowers available were in the memorials that had been left on other people's graves. They came back with a massive handful of flowers. And, one of the older girls, she said to me, it's not like we even took them off the graves. They were laying all over the ground. We just picked them up, though. So we're doing them a favour, actually.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that you just don't think, like they just don't know if they've never been to one.
No, they'd never been to a church or a cemetery, and that's a good thing. Like, you don't want to be too familiar with death as a small child. Like, I hung out at church a lot because my grandma played the piano organ for this church. So I was at church a lot as a child growing up, went to a lot of funerals, because in the country town where I grew up, it was standard practice. Someone died, whole town went to the funeral. And, I was a girl guide and did pony clubs, so we often did guards of honour, like for local residents who'd passed away and those sorts of things, to sort of honour their past associations with those clubs. But yeah, these kids had never been to a Catholic service before, never been to a cemetery before, and they were just living their best little kid's life. One kid emerged somewhere from the graveside with a whole pie. He was having a bit of a snack while we were trying to, he's there with his whole big pie and his paper bag. And
where did you get that from? He took off to the shops.
I don't know. He has magicked it out from under his coat.
Oh,
Must have been saving it for a special occasion. I don't know. But yeah, it was. And that's the thing. Like, funerals are sad, obviously, because someone that you love has passed away. But they are also a celebration of their life and a gathering of their loved ones. So all as funerals go, it could have been a lot worse, to be honest. But it was actually quite relaxed and amusing. So, yeah, what have you been up to, Katja? Not going to funerals by the sounds of things.
No, I have actually managed, after 3 years of podcasting, to get my husband to sit down and record some episodes with me. So I was just wanting to do something a little bit different with the marketing for our on-property bull sale this year. And we are moving into, we're the, fourth, fifth and sixth generation farmers living on farm at the moment, selling these Shorthorn genetics, which have been passed down from generation to generation. And I wanted to capture some of that depth and that wealth and those genetic history lines. So I sat down with Ned. We've recorded 2 out of the 5 or 6 podcast mini episodes about the family history, about what makes a good bull, about the genetic line, about what we chase. And also there's this new system which was brought in, particularly around Sudstock, about the predicted data. So you get like all the numbers and all the statistics and all the predicted data of an animal. And then, can you judge purely off that for whether this animal's going to do any good in your herd, or do you need to actually go back to the old stockman and stockwomen method of actually looking at the animal and praising it for what it is, or do we need to land somewhere in the middle? So we talk about things like that. Yeah, it's been really good to sit down and listen to some of the family history and deep dive into more of that side of the farming production. I hear a lot of it in the yards. I've heard Ned judge a lot. I've heard him run lots of junior judging programs. He always takes time to chat to the kids about it. And so it was really good to hear it in sort of a more condensed manner, sitting down face to face and chatting about that. So I'm looking forward to the other episodes. So they're going to be released in the 5 to 6 weeks in the lead up to the on-property bull sale.
That's awesome. That's so, one, it's really clever use of marketing and your skills, obviously. But 2, that what a great memory that's going to make for your kids to be able to listen to that in the future. Like, they could listen to it now, obviously, but your kids are quite small and just be like, oh, that's just mum and dad talking. But as they get older, because, they have that record now, and that's just, I think it really demonstrates the connection that families have to agriculture, and now they've got that as a memorial. Not a memorial, sound like Ned's passed away. He's still with us, touch wood. It's a great memory, and connection to their previous generations that they now have, and then they can pass on in the future to their family and stuff. So it's building that community around it as well. So we'll definitely be promoting that a bit more when it's released. Are you going to make Ned pose for proper headshots and stuff and put his head on a social tile and everything, or?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a photographer coming. I'll lay out all his clothes.
But I'm sure he'll really love that.
Yeah. No, it's all organised. It's on the calendar, and we'll make it happen. Because I also, while we have the photographer out, I don't have a formal picture or a family picture of all 6 of us. So I thought it would be nice while they're coming out to do that, those marketing shots, to actually be like, hey, come over here for a second, we'll get some shots with the kids as well. So the bull sale, for those who are intrigued, is on Wednesday the 26th of August.
I'm not intrigued because everyone knows how I feel about shorthorns. But if you're going to buy a shorthorn, buy one from Polldale, because as far as, they're good cattle. They're good, strong, good frames. They're built correctly. The best of any breed is a good animal. It doesn't matter what colour or breed it is. And, if you go to Polldale, you're getting the best shorthorns in Australia. So there you go. But
with that, we will jump into China imposes 55% tariff on Australian beef. Shout out to the episode 3 boys who have covered this. They're also known as the Ag Watchers on podcast because they went into this in quite in depth.
They're agricultural economists by trade, wheat watcher and meat watcher on the socials. Obviously, Andrew does grains and Matt does meat. They do know their stuff when it comes to market forces and predictions and watching things. That's why they call themselves watchers, obviously. And they're incredibly generous with their knowledge. They give so much of their knowledge away for free to the ag industry. It's all there on their social platforms or on their website if you wanted to read any of their analysis or, their articles and those sorts of things. They also happen to be mates of mine, and they are top blokes, and they are sending me a check in the mail later, they've promised. But no, they're actually really nice blokes. And they have the capacity to explain complex things such as markets and commodities and forces and pressures and all those sorts of things in very simple language that makes it accessible and understandable. And as an industry, we could probably do that a bit more. We could, I know we're busy and I know we're good at what we do, but we could, every now and again sort of lift our gaze up a little bit and learn some more about the things that actually impact the prices that we get and the prices that then we can charge. So, yeah, we should learn a little bit more. You don't have to participate in it, just understand it, and it'll make your life probably more terrible because then you'll know more about what's going on. And sometimes you just want to live in a hole and not know anything about the greater outside world. But it might make it easier for you to make decisions and stuff in the future if you have a little bit more knowledge. So, yeah, China's doing what China does, which is looking after its own interests.
I think the important takeaways for this is because this was sent to us by an AgFab. So China has imposed a 55% tariff. For more details, do check out that episode by the boys. But a really quick summary is that's over the quota. So Australia can send a certain quota to China before the tariff is in place. It is on top of that, for my understanding, and that this is not new. So the headlines and the articles that were sent to us by AgFabs to cover this on the podcast were very much that very critical media trying to sell some sort of scare tactic and some sort of negative spin on China for the general public to follow without understanding the more in-depth and the complexities, and that's why you need to listen to the Ag Boys.
Yep. So this app actually was announced New Year's Day. I woke up New Year's Day to a raft of messages from media outlets asking me if I could do appearances about the China tariff, and I'm just like, I have just arisen from my bed. Like, I don't know anything what you're talking about. So I had to quickly educate myself in the midst of New Year, and there's a reason why we hit our quota so early. That's because people in China do not want to stop buying our beef. They love our beef products. So they got in and they bought up. There is a stack of chilled beef sitting in chillers all around China at the moment. But they also haven't stopped placing orders. So the demand for our beef is that high that, some people are going to be forced to pay more. I know why China, one of the biggest reasons they said they wanted this tariff is so they could protect their own production and industry in China. They want people to buy more Chinese beef. And the thing about China is that there's so many people that live there. They want and need to access food from all around the world. Doesn't matter how much they grow themselves. So many people live there, they're still going to struggle to feed themselves to the level that they desire. If they only relied on their own sources, everyone could eat and there'd be a lot of people who wouldn't enjoy what they could be eating because things have changed. It's not, 50 years ago, they want to eat premium, products from around the world. They want variety. They want all different things. And that's why we have trade to supply those needs. So, yeah, it's the China bashing that tried to occur when we hit our quota. It was really a non-event. They haven't haven't done anything like sneaky or tricky or underhanded or anything like that. They've just said, this is our country. We're going to let you send this much here tariff free. And when you go over that level, it will be this many % tariff added. And yeah, that's how we got there. I don't agree with tariffs in that sense, but unfortunately I don't run China, so I don't have anything to do with what they decide to do.
Yep.
But yeah.
So that is filling in for those guys. Thank you so much for sending through that article. The same as with our next article, it was also sent by an AgFab. So if you have any research data, any articles, any news that you want Gillian and I to go through and give our opinion beyond the headlines, please send them through. You can send them through to the email address, or you can send them through to either of us on the socials. So let's jump into our next article, which is that women working in farm businesses but don't feel comfortable with the label farmer. This is a new research out of the University of Adelaide. Researcher Emily Buddle has come up with some alternative terms that are divided about the stigma. Now, I couldn't access this article because it was under a paywall. Gillian, did you have a look at this one? Because I was obviously quite lazy when I hit the paywall on this one.
I didn't, even though Emily said she did send me the thing, because full disclosure, I know Emily quite well. We're friends. We get around together. And I think it's important to understand what Emily's job is. Yes, she's a farmer. Her and her husband have a farm near Uganda or somewhere, I think. I don't know exactly. Anything south of Coober or south of Port Augusta, realistically, the geography is a mystery to me. I don't spend a lot of time down there. It's just the south. So she lives down there somewhere in that farming country. But she is also an academic. And so, love them or hate them, academics, they often play a role in society. And we haven't experienced this much in agriculture. But they ruminate on things and they think about things. And then they write a paper about it that challenges beliefs or proves something or disproves something. And we haven't really experienced this in agriculture in the sort of social sense. Technically, yes, like chemicals, science, all that sort of stuff. Yet we're very used to that. But social sciences and reflecting on agricultural practices and communities and identities and those sorts of things, this is a brand new experience for many of us. And I think a lot of us go, it's too woke. Can't talk about it. It's not necessary. But you need to have a certain level of self-reflection to understand yourself, understand your industry. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. That, there's nothing wrong with loving what you do and being fiercely protective of your land and being very proud of producing food. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you understand yourself better and know why you act a certain way and make certain decisions, then you can just make your life easier. So I don't know why you'd fight against making your life harder. But yeah, so I didn't look at any of these terms either, to be completely honest. Sorry, Emily, I promised I would read it, but I never did.
We'll do better in the future, Emily.
Yeah, because she sent me her whole paper and everything because she promised to never put her work behind a paywall. And very interesting, if you are interested in listening to Emily firsthand, we might be able to attract her to speak at the Harvest Her Power event in Adelaide next year. And you can give her your feedback directly if you like, because she's not what you would describe as a shy, retiring person. So that could be a very interesting discussion. It is interesting. So, Katja, when you think about yourself and what you do you label yourself a farmer?
Only if I have to put a label on it. I'm very well aware that I don't fit into a box and I wear many hats. But if someone wants me to label it, yes, I will label myself a farmer. I will also label myself a farmer's wife, because that is what I am. And if people need a label to be able to compartmentalize who I am and what I do, then I find that more reflecting of them. But in general terms, I'm just me.
I think because this is not the first time you and I have had this discussion, because with the Harvest Her Power and the Ultimate Farm Wife and those sorts of things, we copped a bit of flack, didn't we, about calling ourselves and saying we are here for farm wives, and some women got very sort of outraged, false outrage, I believe, because it's not that big of a deal. They if you want to call yourself a farmer, I don't give a shit, do that. That's none of my business what you want to call yourself. But I think for women it's especially hard because we do carry so many identities. We are farmers. We are wives. We are mothers. We are teachers, carers. So if you want to be, you can be the farmer's wife or a farm wife. You don't have to be the farmer's wife. You can be a farm wife. You can be a wife who lives and works on a farm. If you feel that reflects you better and encompasses your role better. And like we got told it was anti-feminism and all this sort of stuff. But I thought, in my understanding of feminism, it's the right to identify how you want to and to do what you want and not be defined by other people's expectations and labels and held back simply because of your gender. If you want to be a farm wife, be a farm wife. Feminism, that's what it is. If you want to be a farmer, be a farmer. Do what you like. No one's stopping you from doing anything else.
One of the things I found with my work as the ultimate farm wife, and that is building a community of ultimate farm wives, by the way. I'm not just calling myself the ultimate farm wife. I am building a community of ultimate farm wives. The work on the podcast is the ultimate farm wife.
Katja, you are the ultimate farm wife with your canning and you're making preserves and planting fruit trees and gardens and all this. The ultimate farm wife. Next thing you know, you'll be knitting and sewing things out of hand-me-down flour sacks and
In my spare time.
in your spare time, running the CWA. Land care. What else are you going to do?
Everything. Actually, we're gonna put that on hold because the next thing I have to say is pretty interesting. After this bit, so the work that I found with the Ultimate Farm Wife and with my workshop, Know Your Timings, is that a lot of the stigma and issues with the label is that people have not thought about their roles and their hats and what that's included. And because they may not necessarily be down the paddock with their farmer or doing a lot of the work unsupervised on farm, they don't feel like they fit under those labels. And when we sat down and we worked about, okay, are you doing the parts run? Are you keeping the farm running by doing the cooking, the cleaning, everything else? If you write down everything that you do in a week, in a month, in a season, in a year, can someone be paid for that role on farm as part of the family farming business or part of the family business if it was a corporate? Yes, absolutely. So you are part of the farm. You are part of the farm business and you can call yourself a farmer or a farmer's wife because you are directly impacting and contributing to that business. And unless people sit down and do the work to be able to capture their role and capture their identity and then be able to translate that into a title, then of course they're not going to feel happy about what the title is. But also, when people are very negative about whether you call yourself that label or not, a lot of the time they don't know you, they don't know your operation, they don't know the roles that you're doing. So it's actually direct reflection on them, not on you, because they, a lot of the time they don't even know you.
Yeah, no, and they just make judgments because that's what people do. They judge and get it wrong most of the time. But I noticed that because I'm a little bit older than you, Katja, when women were becoming more prominent in agriculture, we weren't celebrated or featured in anything unless we were just like a man.
Yeah.
So it's still the woman's component of support and her role as a woman was still not valued, acknowledged, or taken into account. Only people who were featured in articles or, got sort of, featured on Landline and all those sorts of things was that they're just doing what the men do, which is cool. But the thing is we've always done that. Yeah. Women have always been out there doing it. Who do you think sort of ran the country through both world wars? Like, it had to be done. Who do you think when mum and dad or, set off on their dray to set up their dream and hack a living out of a piece of virgin bush and start a farm from scratch. And there was only the two of them, and they had to be chopping down trees. Who do you think was swinging on the other end of the saw? Because it's we only seem to value farm women and farm wives when they are doing manly things, not for the work that only we can do.
Yep.
Like, because a lot of times you're doing that stuff, you're doing that farming stuff with a baby strapped to you or in the car seat behind you, or, you know, you've gone and worked all day in the yards and then you still have to come home and cook tea. And yes, it is changing, and the women are getting more support from their partners as generations change and all those sorts of things, but there's still a big cohort in the middle there that has always done all the things, but they were only ever recognised and celebrated when they did the manly things. And we've done it to ourselves. Like, women have done that to ourselves by dismissing our very significant contribution to everything. So yeah, call yourself whatever you want. Call yourself a farmer, I don't care. None of my business. But don't get bent out of shape when other people decide to label themselves as well, because it's none of your business.
So you know how you said earlier not to take any more projects, Gillian?
Oh, what?
So as you guys know, I took a little break from editing the podcast. I went on a little hiatus for the month of June, and I've actually written 2 books. So the first one, Gillian, for those who aren't watching on the YouTube channel, has just given me this great big harumph look. She's stressed. She's touching her hair.
Hang on, I need a cup of tea.
So I've written a nonfiction book, which is all about moving to the farm, and I talk about it in it, learnt skills, which are collated from a combination of my own experience working with Harvest to Power, but also with over 100 episodes that I've done with the Ultimate Farm Wife, taking the tips, tricks, hacks and advice. And it goes all about, moving to the farm for the first time and learning to find your feet, talking about the things that aren't often spoken about. So the change in identity, becoming the person who the farm needs, still trying to keep grounded in who yourself. It's okay to grieve the person that you were and the life that you had, and the most important question of communication and relationship. There's a communication and a relationship sort of chapter, which is a little bit like a quiz to find out the things that you and your husband or partner can work on to create a solid foundation that can then take you guys forward. And then there's like my funny takes on each chapter as well. So that's the nonfiction book. And then I've also written an Australian romance. So keep an eye out for those, because I've been talking to a publishing company and we're looking at getting those published in the lead up to Christmas. So the first little bits and pieces were heard here first.
So with that timeline, then you will be available for book signings at the Harvest Her Power event in March in Adelaide. Now, I have a question, Katja. The romance, how spicy is it? Is it getting an E for explicit?
No, I thought I would dabble in something that wouldn't make me turn beetroot red when I went into public to talk about it. It is what you would call, I guess, a closed door romance. It's more about the will they, won't they.
So if you're listening to this and you don't understand the terms that Katja and I are using, you have to get on something that they call BookTok, which is a TikTok term, obviously, but the same content does go over to Instagram and Facebook, and they talk about all different sorts of styles and genres of mainly romance books and all that sort of stuff, and spice levels, all that sort of stuff. And then there's weirdo stuff, and I hope you haven't written this, because I saw something the other day, Katja, about a romance novel that had been written, and the main character was a bull, like literally like a bovine, and the other main character was a human woman. So, yeah, I hope to God that we're not going to be subjected to that
No, that's not my style at all. Nope. But you will hear more after the signing of the contracts and when everything is exchanged and it goes to print. I'll be able to tell you a bit more about it, so stay tuned.
But and in amongst doing all that, like decluttering and writing books and everything else, you also have something else happening on farm in August, which is going to be like it's a pretty big deal for you and your whole family and business, obviously.
Yes. So I can't remember if we spoke about this in the previous episode or whether it was tonight, because we're doing a bulk recording tonight. But
Ruin the magic of podcasting for everybody, Katja.
Oh, sorry. But Wednesday, the 26th of August, is the on-property bull sale here at Polldale. We are selling around 40 lots. I think it's 40 lots of Shorthorn bulls that we have a very strong genetic history with. So keep an eye on socials for that. There is also an ad. I also have done a collaboration with the KALGOLD Magazine, and I've written an article and a column for AgFabs, which will be featured in their August edition, as well as the advertising for the bull sale. So keep an eye for that, because it's starting to roll out on socials as this is aired.
And I did proofread that, so I have actually read it in advance and know it's coming. So
I got Gillian to proofread it, because those who've been in this for a long time will know that I am highly dyslexic. So this is very funny that, you know, my teachers probably never thought that I would excel academically, and then I went and got my bachelor's degree, and then they definitely wouldn't have thought that dyslexic, hyperactive child would ever sit down and write a book. So.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing we should talk about that is pretty serious is there have been cases of bird flu detected in Western Australia and also in the Fleurieu Peninsula in South Australia. So they're not they're native birds, but they're not locally native birds. They're migratory seabirds. Few tips and tricks. First of all, if you see a sick bird or a dead bird, don't touch it. There's no need for that. Yeah. Keep your animals away from it. Don't let the cats and dogs eat it or harass it or anything like that. Take a photo of it, mark its location. A lot of smartphone cameras these days are geotagged, so you'll be able to, within the data, metadata for your photo will have the actual, latitude and longitude. Report it if you're concerned. Probably use your best judgment, but if it's a budgie laying next to a big glass window and it looks like it's broken its neck flowing into the window, probably not necessary to report that. But if you're down the beach and you see some dead, sick, dying birds, that's probably, more worth reporting. But yeah, keep your animals, if you've got chooks and you live, obviously birds have wings and can fly around, but obviously the danger areas at the moment from these migratory birds who are bringing the disease with them. If you live in coastal regions, keep your chickens locked up and your ducks and any other pet birds that you may have, just to reduce the risk of exposure, because if they get sick, guess what? The Department of Ag is going to come and euthanize all your birds for you. So keep them locked up. If you're a livestock producer, keep an eye on your water sources. Any dead, dying, sick birds around your waters, get rid of them as quickly as possible and report it. And if possible, keep your livestock off open waters where birds can access. Keep your troughs clean. Get really on top of your biosecurity. And yeah, get your information off reputable websites. So the Department of Ag website in your particular state, or the federal one's pretty good as well. Main thing though, do not pick up, cuddle, pat, kiss a dead, dying bird on its way to the vet, because that's pretty much what happened with one of the sick birds in South Australia, is that the wildlife rescue people, who should have known better, were stroking this obviously very unwell bird and nursing it and comforting a wild animal, which, if you know anything about wild animals, it would have been terrified that it was being eaten. But anyway, rescue people are a different type of individual. But anyway, so don't love up to sick, dying birds, please, because this is one of the very few bird flus that can cross the barrier into mammals, and we are mammals. So yeah, don't unnecessarily interject yourself into that situation. And if you have feral pigs, be really careful, because they are opportunistic scavengers and will eat dead, sick, dying birds, and then spread their dirty little pig germs all over the place, and they love to wallow in open waters. So, yeah, watch out for bird flu. Keep yourself safe and your birds safe.
If you found today's episode entertaining, enlightening, a little bit crazy, and you thought of someone while listening to today's episode, make sure you send it to them. We'd love to have them here as another AgFab. Until next time, we'll see you all soon.
Oh, no. I've got to ask them a question, Katja. I do have to ask a question. What do our listeners call themselves?
Oh.
When you think about yourself, I asked you said you're a farmer or a farm wife. So I want our listeners to tell us, when they think about themselves, what label do they give themselves? Oh, because I think this would be a really interesting sort of test to see. Oh, because I reckon it's going to be split up into age groups. I reckon my age group and older will probably still call themselves a farm wife. And I reckon everyone sort of under the age of 25 is going to call themselves a farmer. That's my prediction.
We should put that up as a tile on socials as well.
If I remember. You get exclusive content if you listen to the podcast because I forget to put it on the socials. Now we can say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Agsolutely Fabulous. If you've been listening along and enjoying all this content, which I assume you have, you've gotten this far, then you might also like Katja's other podcast. It's the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. And I'm going to play the intro for you right now. Welcome to the Ultimate Farm Wife Podcast. On this channel, we're going to be discussing all things moving to the land and becoming integrated with a family farming operation. Whether you're moving to the farm for the first time or whether you're moving back into a family farming operation, we discuss the ins and the outs of all of it. So let's jump into today's episode.